Let us take a look at a brief history of 3D printing, and I say brief because it has not been that long. Now, I know some of you are saying the 80s, that was a long time ago. Well, not to me, does not seem like it was a long time ago. So here is one of the first 3D printers. I found this image out there in the Googleverse, and it is huge, right? And again, that little thing over there with the teeny screen, that is an actual computer. So you can see how large that 3D printer is, and I am sure the print area on it is just that little sort of reddish cylinder in the middle. There is so teeny. Now if we look at the 80s, there are some definite huge things that started happening, where in the first patch and in actually release our applied for by Dr. Cadbera for rapid prototyping. He is looking at how to make prototypes in manufacturing that does not require you know to make a die and to know the steel, and does he want it to come up with something that would make little dooded really quick to see if it would actually work before you spend the money to make this huge investment in tool and die stuff or metal work. Later on in 86, Charles Hall started taking up stereolithography, so SLA printing, and he found 3D system. So we have got these different types of technology happening. Then we jump to 1988 and Scott Crumb. He comes up and pans FDM. So here we go. This is the guy. I am sure there are many others involved in the office and in the laboratory that happened him come up with this. But he pans the FDM process that we use. Now we also can jump to 84, where is stereolithography is also taken up by the French into you for using thing. People are working on all these things at the same time. One of the biggest methodology about technology is that if you know, let us say Edison did not discover light bulb or electricity, somebody would have, because there are always other people working on these things all over the world. And again in Hero, then we have Carl Dechert in 88. He brought a patent for the less that the centering that is using the power. So we have all these different technologies are starting to emerge, and obviously you are all sort of feeding on one another and saying, well, why if you can do it, this you could probably do with that, and coming up with these different technologies. Now let us take a look at the 90s, and here is one of the first panels, that is a drawing for a pen. This is from a state this in 92 for FDM printing. So this is one of the pens is a pad. I love a 96. It is, I am wondering what that actually said. I am assuming monitors or maybe using keyboard 38, or 38 is keyboard. And if we look at figure 1 in this lecture, we are going to be taking a look at the parts of 3D printer, and a lot of that is what we are going to be looking at, but really condensed down into one teeny piece. So it is pretty fascinating when you take a look of something like this, an actual from 92 for an FDM printer. Now when we hit 2000s, we can see that things start definitely kicking into high gear. A 3D printed working kidney is created. We also see that the first prosthetic leg is made in 2008. This is a big one. FDM patents are now in the public domain, and that is why we can have all of these different printers out there, because anybody can make a FDM machine. So again, patents are great, but when patents also are allowed to be used by another, and when they lapse, we can start creating some really cool things. Now 2010s, you know, I guess that is what you call it. 2010s, one of the big ones here was the President Obama's 2013 speech. You know, a State of the Union speech. He mentioned 3D printing, which was amazing, because here is this technology that is getting bigger and bigger, and it is being talked about in the State of Union speech. I mean, it was not a huge part of it, but it really made the industry say, oh, wait a second, we are actually getting somewhere, we are doing something. We also have all these different things happening where there is a starting to print with carbon fibers, and we are looking at doing things like 2012 or the first percent of Johns printed and implanted. So we are using these things for rapid prototyping at this point, but not so much using to. We are also using it now for just machinery, but we are using it to create pieces of ourselves. So like the computer, 3D printing has just jumped leap and bounds from the age till now, where, for example, I have 3D printers just printing way on a steering right now, and they are making some pretty cool stuff. When can 3D print body part? We can 3D print prosthetic legs. I have seen 3D printers that are working on 3D printing flash for a skin for burn graft. In the last session, I mean some link to some really interesting articles, and some of those are in there about the history and sort of what is having now. So it is really a really fascinating process that I cannot wait to talk more about.